today, Mariah?
Yeah, let's have Derek go first, and then Steven, and then Kevin, and then Smitty will go at the end. Just those four. Take about 10 to 15 minutes, or really whatever you need. But yeah, Derek to start us off.
All right. All right. Let me find my flow here. If I can remember which flow is doing it.
And then just as a reminder to everybody, if you could just do a quick like, hey, this is the problem it's solving, or this is the issue that came up, and then as you talk through kind of how you used it, or if it's just something you found and it was really cool, but you didn't have a problem or anything specifically that you're solving, just explain why you think it's cool. All right, sorry, thanks, Derek.
Hold on, my flow's not in here. It is somewhere. I don't know. I'll see a new one. So a while ago, the new Dataverse connector, they added when a bound action is performed.
When an action is
performed. Has anybody used that before or used it yet?
I was reading about it yesterday and mentioned it to Jeff.
So when I was trying to use it,
as a poster.
Yeah, when I was trying to use it, I thought, I have my custom API in here already to using this one, this get available quantity. I was going to call out to this other system, pass in some data, and get a value back. So I wanted to do it from a flow. So I came in here, added this in here. For my catalog options, by default it has all or this common. So I picked that. This category I didn't know what I was doing here. I was just randomly picking stuff and I wasn't seeing anything in here. So there are some steps you have to do to get any of your custom APIs or actions to show up in here. So with the kind of newer version of Dataverse, they've got this idea of a business event. So you can have business events. It's, I don't know, kind of a rebranding of just like plugins and custom APIs, just all that together, where something happens in the system and there's a business event that you want to respond to. So in order to get your business events to show up in this step, you have to add a catalog. So a catalog, this might look kind of similar to anybody that's done anything with BC before, where you can kind of group things together in a kind of API fashion. So that's what a catalog is. So we can add you have to have a base catalog. I just named this one. So it needs to have a unique name and a name in there. And then underneath that catalog, you have catalog. You can have child catalogs, which we have here of tables and actions. So let's point to that catalog. And then under there, you have catalog assignments. And the assignments is what you add to expose either tables or actions into your catalog so they can show up in here. So in my catalog here, I've got the quote table. Let me just pull it up from here. I've got my quote table. And I've got my custom actions, custom APIs. So if I go through adding a new one, so you can see what it looks like. So you just give it a name, and you can look for records here. That's going to look through either custom APIs, entities, or processes. So you can use it with custom APIs or custom actions or just entities. And then you associate that to your catalog. So you need to have at least the parent catalog, a child catalog, and then some catalog assignments to get that to show up under your flow. So here I've got my catalog. Category is my child catalog. Then I can pick any table I've got under there, and then it will show my action. So with that there, you can have this run from a flow, and then you can do whatever you need to after that. And I think I've got one.
You know how this runs, like, does it run asynchronously along with the action, or is it after
Yeah,
the
if you
action's
do
done?
if you do it from a flow there, it's going to be async. It's going to be running in the background.
And it'll just trigger when the action's triggered, or like when the action's done?
When it's triggered.
Okay.
So one thing about this is your custom APIs. In order to have them be selectable to add to a catalog assignment, you have to have the right settings on your custom API. I had to recreate a couple of mine. That. So this allow custom processing step type has to be set to sync or async in order for it to be selectable as an action in your catalog assignment. So if you have this set to none, it's not gonna, you can't pick it. And you also can't change that field once it's created. So
you get to delete and recreate.
Yep.
If you picked a good name, I'm gonna keep that name.
Yeah, so that's all I had for that. Any questions on it?
I think there's a bit of value to go into talking about why would you use this? When would it be a good idea to use this?
I mean, if you want to use it in a flow, this is the only way to get it as a flow trigger. They also recommend these business events are good for, I don't know. I think it's kind of new, but it's kind of way just to group your functionality together. And for like exposing events to external things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was going to be my thing. Is the two clear benefits that I see from this is one, it's pretty common for you to want to be able to trigger a flow from, say, a ribbon button without using the out-of-the-box flow buttons. And so normally the way that we would do that is we would use an HTTP trigger, and then we would just make an HTTP request from our ribbon button. But we run into the issue where the URL for the flow to trigger is different from environment to environment. So if you're using this method instead, then you don't have to worry about accounting for different flow URLs in different environments. It'll just trigger the version of the flow in the environment that the business event happens.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I'm using them for in my case. I've got this custom quote grid I've shown before. Maybe. Get one that's got stuff on it. And I've got these two buttons. So I import file. So here I can just pick my file and have it call my action to do all my stuff and think this create quote report. I just call those from that button, call my action, which then triggers explodes. I don't need to ever change anything when I push to production.
Mm-hmm. And then the other value.
Just
Sorry, go ahead, Scott. Oh, I was just gonna say, like Derek said, another value is just exposing specific business events within CRM to other developers who might be wanting to subscribe to those events, but who are developing their own customizations that are separate. So maybe the BC team wants to know when an opportunity in CRM has been closed as won. So you can add the business event for the close of an opportunity, and then they can just subscribe to that directly and then do whatever they want to do with the information from that.
Yeah, and it can be useful too for exposing events to external things. And we've done quite a few, I guess, kind of integrations with third-party things where they just call a flow using the HTTP request call, and they can pass on whatever. So with this catalog and a bound action instead, I think that works better because they don't have to ever change the URL. Based on sandbox or production, they can just pass in the same info, goes to the same place.
So I had two questions. One, clarification. We needed in the catalog to be able to call it as the trigger, right? But I could still call an action from within my flow without this. Okay.
Right. Yep.
And then the second one, what I think I heard you say, by exposing this API, when they go between dev, test, and production, the URL doesn't change. Is that?
Yep.
Did I hear that correctly? And if so, how do you know which environment you're actually calling when you call it?
This is going to be different. Just your base URL there, but then
okay,
after that, it's just like calling any action. So it'll be like you post the action endpoint.
All right, I was envisioning the URL being something.powerapps.com, and then it would just magically determine. But if it's hitting the CRM URL, that makes sense to me. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That was my question too. Thanks, Scott.
Yeah. So you just call it's going to be your API endpoint, and then just throw that on the end.
Very cool. Any other questions?
Have you run into any issues with it so far, Derek? I know that it is still in preview.
No, nothing yet. It's worked pretty great so far. Got it pushed up to production, working fine there.
Cool. Is it me?
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks for that, Derek. Okay, so what I'm going to be solving today is how do we open up requests for our customers, support requests with Microsoft. So we as a partner organization have some benefits tied to us where we can actually have escalated cases that are higher priority because we're a gold partner. So what I'm going to show you today is how to link our partner benefits to our customer and then open up cases on their behalf. How many of you have gone to Partner Center before by a raise of digital hands? Smitty did a real one. Okay. Looks like about half of you have gone to Partner Center. If you haven't before and this is new to you, awesome, welcome. You'll get to learn how to use this. We'll have to make sure you also have the right access for it. But I'll throw that URL here into the chat. This is kind of the first place to go whenever you're trying to do anything with a partner or for your customer. So once you log into here, the first thing you're going to do is come under the CSP. This is a drop down, so you'll click on it and you'll come to customers. And then you'll be able to look up your customer. Once you come here, a lot of this isn't going to relate to you, especially if you're just opening up a support ticket. But if you would like to do the support ticket, you come down to service requests. And then you come in and you choose your request type. So depending on where you're at, if you're doing something for the Power Platform, you'd want to come here and do this. If you're doing something for O365, you'll select it, and then this should take you to the actual admin center that you're going to open up the ticket under. I don't remember right off the top of my head the login credentials for them. Please hold. Vines, where's your hold music? This would be a perfect opportunity for it.
So
I'd have to
Stephen, you
share my
basically,
screen and enable.
so Stephen, you're basically saying as a partner, we can get a faster turnaround than them.
Well, they have to go through us. If we're their CSP provider, they have to open up a ticket through us anyways. But yes, we can make it a lot faster.
They don't have a way to do it themselves.
Not if they have a partner. Nope. Microsoft requires them to go through their partner to submit a ticket.
Thanks.
Okay, now I've logged in. I'm here. And then you go through talking about what the issue is. I'll just kind of throw this into here. And then as you're coming into here, this is where I'm going to need to share with everybody our Premier Access ID and contract ID. But this is something that has been provided to us by Microsoft, that if we come in and add this and save.
Is that information in Devolution somewhere?
No, it's not. I'll have to add that today. And this was something that was shared with me on Monday when I was speaking with Microsoft with our contact Jen. And it looks like it can only be registered by one person. So since I chose a customer that this has already been registered with, it's not going to allow me to access it again. So this should only need to be done once per customer. So let me choose a different customer just to do this. So once this is already done, you'll be able to add, you'll be able to select that support plan. And then once you submit your ticket, that's going to be linked to our benefits. And then Microsoft will escalate it a lot faster. They'll have more senior level resources assigned to the case to make sure that they're doing a good job and making sure we're happy with it.
I know we used to have like a limited number of Premier Access. Is that still the case, or are we just kind of to the point where if it needs to be, we just end up escalating it?
I'm not sure. The way that it was explained to me, it sounded like we could put this on as many customers as we'd want, but that would be something that would be worth following up with. Do this. I don't know if this one's going to be a good example either. Okay, here we go. This will be a good one. Well, it seems to not be doing anything right now. Well, what you would see here, I apologize. For some reason, it's not popping up. It should pop up and walk you through that ticket process that we just saw on the last screen. And then you would just add those two numbers in, and then it will successfully register. Then you open up your case. It will walk you through. It's a pretty guided process where it asks for who's the user affected, what is this affecting? If it's related to like a flow or related to an environment, it will ask for the environment URL as well as like the flow ID. So it's a guided process, and then once you submit that, you should get contact pretty quickly. And if you ever do run into any issues, we have a contact at Microsoft that can be CC'd onto them, onto the cases, and say, her name is Jen. We ask Jen, can you work your magic to make sure that this gets escalated? Mark, do you still have a question?
No,
He
just
was
shifting in my chair.
I think he was just showing us that he had gone to Customer Center before.
Okay. So
I can put my
unfortunately, it's
hand
not
down?
popping up.
Now he has a question.
Well, I can put my hand down now, right?
Yeah.
Scott, what's your question?
Yeah. So kind of to Logan's point, at one point we had, 10 escalations per year or something. It sounds like that's not the case, but is there general guidance around what should or should not be escalated? Is it, do we escalate it because we can, or do they want us to only escalate things that are, X number of users affected, or this number of this amount of money being lost because of lost functionality or something like that. Because I know that when I work support, people would be like, oh, this is business critical, and they call up and be like, hey, let's talk about it. Oh, well, actually, I'm kind of busy now. Call me back in 3 hours. And I'd be like, what the heck? So are we going to get ourselves in some sort of trouble if we escalate things that shouldn't be?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say follow that rule of thumb, right? I don't know the exact answer, and I don't know the exact criteria around how many escalations we get, so on and so forth. But I would say that's a good standard to adopt, is that you only want to escalate this when it is, impacting the go live date, if it's, affecting the profitability of an organization, system down kind of thing. If you're okay waiting on your request, they're really quick. Microsoft usually gets with you within 4 to 8 hours, depending on the severity of your ticket. So if it's not critical and it's not urgent, I wouldn't escalate it unless you absolutely need to. So in the example that I was going to show with poster compliance, we have a blocker that is jeopardizing our ability to hit our go live date. And so we attached it to our ASP benefits and escalated it to Jen so that she could help us. And she's kind of working behind the scenes to make sure we get the right resources, so on and so forth. So as a good rule of thumb, I would say probably only escalate if it's super critical, if it's a blocker, and if it is jeopardizing a go live date. Otherwise, you can just open up the support ticket itself through this portal that I wasn't able to show you, but you open it up through here and then just communicate with Microsoft directly. Does that answer your question?
Yep, it does.
Great. Well, I was going to show you how to go through that process, but since it's not working, I'll suffice it to say that it is pretty self-guided. So anyone who does open up a ticket, it should be easy. The biggest thing I wanted you to know is where to go inside a partner center to find that. And then these route you to the different admin centers, the admin portals where you would actually open up the tickets itself. Any other questions? Okay, if there's no questions, then I relinquish my time.
Awesome, thank you. Kevin, you want to go?
Yeah, I can do that.
Kevin.
Oh, just one? Not everybody's
Kevin.
chanting? Okay, there we go.
It was still me, but I did it a second time.
All right. Well, not extremely technical here, but I know that in the past, when we look at integrations and a lot of data transformation, we tend to spend a lot of time avoiding multi-select option sets and formatting our flows to do string maps and all that stuff when we deal with option sets and multi-select option sets in general. So found a pretty slick way to deal with that here with integrations. And with full disclosure, I think Dan and Josh kind of did the legwork for this, and then I just kind of, putted it into the hole. But it ends up being a solution that could save us a lot of time in the future. So essentially, Wiedemann Malik is a law firm, and they've got their own software to help with their law practice called Practice Master. And in Practice Master, each contact comes with these categories, and they're essentially just tags on a contact. And they don't really have any sort of filtering on those tags. They're all just kind of bundled together. So when we integrated and when we imported contacts into Dynamics, we ended up with just a long list of tags that we needed to separate into different fields inside of Dynamics. So for example, the fields we needed to separate the tags into were what practice area they belong to, what marketing options they have, the relationship between the contacts, and kind of the source of this lead into, from Practice Master. And so when you look, what we did is we created a few custom tables. The first one is just kind of an intersect table to link the contact to what we call the other custom table, which is the contact category. So this is essentially just a table that has all of the tags that we might bring over from this other program. So what I've done is on these categories, we actually, let me open this up because that form is kind of bare. We've got fields relating to each of those 4 fields that we're doing inside of Dynamics. So the practice area, the contact type, lead source, and the marketing and holiday section as well. So, and then using the global option set, the same global option set that we're going to use here inside of marketing, we use inside of, use here inside of these 4 fields we use on the contact category. So you can see the practice area has this this value as part of the option set. So what I found worked the best was to do this inside of a workflow using some of these workflow tools that kind of sit at the bottom of the list when we're adding actions here. But there's a set of workflow tools to deal with multi-select option sets. There's 3 different ones. There's a get option set to get the value. There's a set option set to set the value, and then there is a map option set to map that value between 2 different records. You can kind of see the properties here, the target record URL. So this is going to the contact. Attribute name is the schema name of the actual field, and then the value you want to assign to it. So I've got the value coming from the category to the contact. And since it is a multi-select and we're just kind of cycling through, we're looping through all of the categories, I am keeping existing values, not overwriting. But if this was a multi-select, we could take all of the values and put them all into this field all at once. So I can map from just a long list of categories all the way through to split them out into each field. And this isn't very elegant, but I just have if that contact category has data in that field, then that's the one it's supposed to go to. But these kind of getting values and kind of using a reference table to hold those values sped it up quite a bit, and I could use it in a workflow, so I could do it kind of in in the bulk workflow in XRM Toolbox. And so that helped me kind of retroactively update all of them so that I could do it on demand. And then it also is a lot quicker just because we're using server resources if we're doing it inside of a workflow. And I know that a lot of times in our integrations, we spend a lot of time with string maps and using a lot of actions trying to map option sets and multi-select option sets. And so in the future, you got all these workflow tools down here that you can use if you need to, especially with multi-select option sets, because we've kind of avoided those a lot. But that's about it.
Okay, thank you. Smitty, do you want to go?
I certainly can. Assuming everyone can see my screen, this one's probably not as exciting as the other ones, but we were quickly coming towards a go live date and determined that we needed to extend it. And we wanted to try to figure out, could we hit that time line with the items that were left available? Where I think this would really be useful would be on the front end with the project, because it would be a way to analyze, are we going to be able to commit the resources necessary to hit a go live date that they want to do? So this is a pretty simple spreadsheet, and there's a couple of places I'll point out where if someone knows more about Excel than me, they could probably improve upon it. I did add a sequence column here, and this category is essentially the functions within the project. So it could be broken out that way early on. Then we give the particular area a name. Is it required for our go live or not? If we know that, and then comments, what resource we want to try to apply to it, and then we give it our estimate of time. This column is a calculated column that says take that and multiply it by 1.2, because we all know we suck at making estimates on how long it takes us going to do something. This column, the estimate remaining, we use in a meeting. Our team meets twice a week for 15 minutes to go through where we stand on each of those and update how much time we think we have left on each of our tasks. So when we go through that, I just filter it down by whatever resources we go through the meeting.
Can I pause there and ask maybe those resources? How has this helped in clarifying kind of our execution and maybe prioritization of the day?
Well, the analysis side of it, we have a chart down here that's giving us a estimate of how many hours a day each person is going to have to average in order to hit the tasks that are assigned to them. So we can look at the workload and the pieces that you're working on right now, et cetera. Does that help answer your question?
Looking for others on the project too, like Steven, Postma. How is this helping you guys understand what's left?
It's helped me know, hey, I need to keep spending 3 hours a day or else I'm not going to hit this deadline. So it's helped me on that regard to be like, hey, make sure you manage your schedule to put in the time.
Yeah, same. Been able to know how much time to allocate in the day. It's also good to be able to go in and filter and just look at the estimation side and just see, what tasks are on your plate, so on and so forth.
Okay. So as we update that estimation tab, we can come back here and refresh our chart, obviously. The area that could use some help is this area down here, because like I said, it's given us an estimate of how many days on average you need to, or how many hours per day on average, and this is work days, you need to be putting in to hit your items, and then how many hours per sprint. This available work days, I have to manually update. I just have this column that subtracts 1 from it, and I copy and paste values daily to change that. So if anyone knows a way that we could automate that type of thing, that would be handy. The other piece that is an issue here is that as I add new resources, I have to manually go down here and populate these little formulas, because if I stuck somebody here in the middle, then whoever was there and afterwards would be wrong, and I have to manually update those. So I don't know if there's a way you could dynamically update that kind of thing or not. But this also gives us something that we can go back to the customer with, because the blue bar here is our original estimate of hours, and then the orange bar is showing the progress towards knocking those guys down. So that's what we've been using. It's been helpful for me. I think it's been helpful for the other people as well. Any questions or comments on it?
No, I think when we talk about the release management part of project delivery, some of the nuance of that is what Smitty's doing here, which is, oh, are we going to hit this date? And what do we need to do to hit this date? And who's going to help? And are we going to be short? And so I think this is it's a healthy practice of keeping the tabs on the project. So well done, Smitty.
No, thanks. But if I had done something like this earlier in the project, it would have been glaringly pointing out that I needed to be bringing in more resources quickly, or sooner, or from the very beginning, to try to get this hit our go live date. And a simple calculation on the front end, we had, I think a reasonably good estimate on the hours to do the development. It was a 1,200 hour project. We knew when the projected go live was. So how many work hours is it going to take to hit that target? Certainly one person's not going to be able to do that. And how many people are we going to need, et cetera. So that's an analysis that I failed to do on the front end of the project. And this has helped a lot since I've implemented it.
So I would just pause there for, dramatic effect, which is understanding the deliverables we need to make in our projects. This is going to be an upcoming topic. It's one of our learning forums, right? Like, how do we break down our projects into manageable chunks so that, we can catch things like this sooner? Always something we can get better at. But well done again. So any other questions from the group on Smitty and the team on how this has been going?
I have a question about, this is really good for your project, but what if, I don't see anybody with a ton of hours per day on there, but let's say somebody had to spend, 6 hours per day, and yet they're also on other projects. How do you handle that?
Well, that's the piece that we're looking at. Take a look at that and say, there's no way this person is going to be able to put in that much time. We need additional resources, or move those tasks around to somebody else. So we would be able to go back here and set up new items for existing resources or add resources. Again, which is a pain, like I said, because that changes this and this calculation. I have no idea how, or if it's possible to make that a little more automated.
But Scott, to your point, I mean, if the hours are too high and it's like, well, this is a dev. We don't have any other devs because all the other devs are also stacked up. Then that's where you go, guess what? We're not going to make it.
Yep, that's an escalation up through our practice, right? Like we've got to flag that, because there may be something around the corner, right, that we don't know about. Oh, hey, we're about to convert somebody, or hire somebody, or hey, we've got Mike Lee on the sideline, so if we need to pull him in, let us know, right? So little things like that I think are helpful for us to throw those out. But a lot of time right now, it's we're trying to hire, trying to fill it. So what are we going to do to make sure that our workloads are manageable? What are we telling sales? What are we, communicating to clients? A little bit of a juggling while we're still trying to get some more resources.
I mean, all of us are on multiple things. So just trying to average 3.1 hours a day on a single project every single day is difficult. Because some days you'll be more than that, and other days you're going to get hit with other stuff and wind up putting 1 hour or maybe none on that particular project. So I worked really hard when I was setting this up to try to keep it below 3 hours a day average for anybody, because I know everybody's got other stuff to do.
Thanks.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, and mine's just like a comment. I think this would have been really helpful on some of the projects I'm on where I'm not like the main resource, but a secondary resource. And like, if you're only expected to have 15 hours of sprint, and then a lot of work ends up piling up on you. And then it's like, yeah, we were thinking of 80-hour sprints, but I'm only putting in 15, and this really exposes that. So that'd be really nice.
So this file lives on the poster internal team on the D365 channel under files. It's called POCC Go Live list. So if you want to grab a copy and tweak it and change it for whatever you need, go for it. All right. I guess I'm done. But that's all, folks.
That's it. Well done, everybody.